I've had many different jobs. I remember at the age of 9, I realized that I wanted to buy things and not ask my parents for money. I needed my own source of income. I was 9 years old. It's not that my parents wouldn't give me money. They're very, very generous humans. I just hated the whole song and dance around asking. Something in my adult artistic lifestyle I've come to terms with. My first source of income was mowing my neighbor's lawn in the summer. At the time, we lived in the village of Howick and not the farm where my parents live today. That sentence or contextual information means nothing to no one, but there you have it. The neighbor we had was an older couple in their 60s that had a number of different health problems. So little Abby Stonehouse was their hero that cut their lawn for $3. I remember them paying me in nickels, which now makes me feel sad and nostalgic. I was a terrible landscaper, if you will. I murdered lots of plants, and I was scared of the lawnmower most of the time. However, my dad allowed me to expand my business when he started paying me to mow his lawn. I used his lawnmower, his gas. He cranked the lawnmower most of the time for me, and he paid me. My first real job was at a gas station when I was 15 years old. It was a minimum wage job, and back then, minimum wage was less than $9. It was a horrific job, and I pumped gas for people that didn't want to touch the gas pump. I smelt like gasoline and sweat all the time. I worked there for 4 months and made my mom call and quit for me. Other jobs included working at a canteen at a campground making French fries. I worked at a depanneur, Blockbuster Video, and a lab tech in university. The lab tech seems like a big jump. I was unqualified, and so were the people around me. Blockbuster Video was strangely one of the best jobs. Or really, it suited my lifestyle at the time. I was very depressed, and the job was easy enough for me to dissociate for hours on end and still get paid. The last job was my first big person job. With real responsibilities, I was in a job that I thought I wanted, using the education that I worked so hard to get. Turns out I hated it. I hated it a lot. There was a number of reasons why I felt undervalued and underpaid. There were pros to this job, but there were more cons. At the core of it, it just wasn't my passion. If you've listened to my past episodes and you've clued in a little bit to my lifestyle, I'm a little bit of a creative. Understatement, I'm a lot of a creative. My whole life, I've suppressed that part of me. Earning money and taking the path to earn money was more of a priority in my brain. It was and will never actually lead to my happiness. Money helps, though. Don't get me wrong. I stress about money a lot. And having an abundance of money would solve a lot of my problems. I left my 9-to-5 about 18 months ago. I saved up some cash and had a year plan to get my life in order so I could just do what I loved. These past 18 months have been hella hard. I've had a lot of ups and downs, and I can say without a doubt that I've worked harder in the last 18 months than I ever have in my entire life. I have also never been happier. Welcome to House of Stone. Welcome to House of Stone. The podcast where everyone has a story and we get into the nitty-gritty of it all. Today, I have Mariam Khan with us today. I have a little bit of an intro for you.
Oh.
Yeah, Mariam is a comedian here in Montreal. She's also a producer of a new and exciting show called Mean Girls. She also was one of the producers involved with the Unknown Comedy Club, a series of virtual comedy shows that started up during the pandemic. She's kind, fiery, delightful, and hilarious. And I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh my God, thanks for having me.
Oh, no
What
problem.
an intro. I loved it. You looked right at me. You're like, I've never been happier. I'm like, how can I believe you?
Intense.
Yeah.
Intense.
No, it was awesome. That was awesome.
I mean, I was talking about like work and I got all like fiery.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like, I don't know, digging into those memories of just like my past life and the life I have now, there's just like so much emotion around it.
Yeah, of course.
And I mean, I invited you on this episode with this theme and topic because you've gone through some significant changes in your life recently in that area. Do you want to talk about it a bit?
I mean, it wasn't like my choice. I did get laid off, which was the best thing that ever happened to me. It was about like 2 months ago where, they kind of formed it as we've eliminated your role. And inside, I was like, thank you. Thank you so much.
So what were you doing? What was...
Oh, my goodness. I don't even know.
You don't even know?
What was your... No, I basically have always worked in sales.
Yeah.
So I was helping, like at my last job, we were doing virtual events. So I've always been in that space.
Yeah.
And I was helping selling like virtual events to associations. And then the role changed to me also selling like these... like new custom services that we had, which I didn't really understand what we were doing, which I think led to my firing. So this is a very hard question for me. But so, of course, they told me that, the role was eliminated because we just, didn't have a need for it. And to me, I took it as a sign, and I was like, I've always wanted to do my own thing. Like you, I kind of always rejected this creative side to me, dabbled in it, but never went full force. And now I'm just like, you know what? You got this. Like, I can do this.
Yeah, you can absolutely do this. So like, how did you get into this position in your last job? Like, how long were you there for?
Okay, so I was there for about a year and a half.
Okay.
And I got this job because of the pandemic. So I used to work at this other company that did wristbands that like lit up at concerts. And
you talked about this before coming in. Like that sounds so wild to me. Just like a whole company. I mean, obviously there's a company connected with little things. When you see glow sticks and you're like, you don't imagine like a whole team of people behind this like glow stick company, but of course there is.
Look, when I see these LED lights, like it's getting me all excited. I'm like, but it was such a and this is the thing, I've never in my life ever liked any job I've ever had. I loved that job.
You loved the glow stick?
I actually loved it because it was a bunch of creatives. Like I still talk to all the people that I work with, which is so rare because normally when I leave a job, I leave the people immediately. I'm like, don't know.
Absolutely.
If you see me on the streets, we're not friends. Remember, I was paid to be there.
Absolutely. I am still friends with one person I used to work with.
Yeah.
But other than that, like even like at my old job, they used to have like summer staff that came in.
Okay.
And like they were all like sweet and we would like, get friendly. And then like literally like the day after they left, I'm like, I am never talking to these people ever again.
I hear you.
And they're so optimistic because they're like in university. It's like, we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, exactly. Add me on LinkedIn,
So you like the glow stick? I'm not calling it right. The LED company, like
it was it worked on Bluetooth, but the thing is, it was a cool company. They had another division where they did like smart wearables.
Okay.
So it was cool, and I worked in that, but it was all the product sold at live events. So when the pandemic happened, like our revenue went to zero.
Oh, right.
So it was really bad, and I knew it was going to be bad because the thing is 90% of our clients were outside of Canada.
Yeah.
And so when like these big major events were calling us and we signed a contract with them like 6 months out and they're like, we're going to cancel.
Yeah.
I remember freaking out, like calling my parents, this pandemic is really bad. Yeah. And everyone thought I was really nuts.
Really? Even like...
My brother was like, calm down. Yeah, because I saw major clients that would never cancel.
I mean, you saw it from a different perspective.
Exactly.
For sure. Like these people that are canceling $1 million events.
Yes, exactly.
6 months in advance.
And they're like the largest.
What did they know that we didn't know at the time?
They knew this was going to end the world. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah. So I remember having this and my salary was cut by 20%. We worked. Shit. Yeah. Zach felt that.
Oh my God.
If you take 20% of my income, I make $0 now.
That's not how
I mean, that's kind of what happened to me too. And I still stuck it out for like a good year because so it was really intense. But then eventually
and then you moved to this other company.
I moved to this other company. completely for the money.
Yeah.
They were paying well. And then at the time, they were doing virtual events.
Yeah.
And they were selling that. So I was like, okay, like I've kind of been in the event space, so I can easily transition into that. And it's like a technology you're selling.
Yeah.
So
And then you're also a performer and
Yeah.
producer, so that probably helped you get the position as well.
No, they did not.
No, they didn't look at any.
I consider, okay, they were so old school. I had a nickname for them. I called them Windows 98 because that's how like
But
old
they were
school.
selling virtual events. How are they like?
I know.
That doesn't make.
It was like Windows 98 type of graphics. Like,
Oh no.
yeah. I maybe shouldn't be saying this in case they listen.
I mean, we haven't said the name of the company.
Yeah, we haven't, and we
And
will.
you don't work there anymore.
I don't work there anymore.
Yeah.
The scars are still there. Very
yes.
much so.
Yes.
No, so, but whatever. I mean, like they treated me
Yeah.
good, so I'm
Yeah.
not going to complain or anything. But passion went to negative 1,000.
Yes.
And then that's when actually Ronnie Ramsey, who's also a comedian in the city,
Yeah.
kind of reached out to me and was like, look, I'm doing these like virtual Zoom shows
yeah.
and I want you on board.
Did he know that you were doing these events?
Yeah, he knew
Yeah.
I was like in this world. He didn't know
Okay.
at like what capacity, and like we've known each other for years. So
Yeah.
and I've kind of been in and out of comedy. Like I was in comedy for like a good like 3-4 years. Then I
Yeah.
kind of just like would just do shows if anyone asked me, and
Okay.
eventually that went to zero. Like nobody wanted me. I was like, I'm not
So
really here.
when did you start doing comedy? Like how many years ago?
Oh my God. I think it was like 2013 or 2014. Yeah.
Wow. So
it's been a while.
like
I'm
9
old.
years or so.
9 years.
Yeah,
I
and
know.
you've taken
I'm very
these
unaccomplished.
breaks.
Yeah, no, I was really like hardcore about it, but the scene was very different back then. And
Yeah.
my mentality was different. Like I didn't look at it like a business. I didn't look at it as work. I looked at it like
as
this
a-
is my hobby.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
would
a
love-
lot of people do, and I don't think there's anything bad about
Yeah.
looking at it as a hobby. Especially like, I mean, I think there's a lot of people in the scene that take it as a hobby, but they're talented. I'm like, good, like you're adding something to the scene. But then there's the people that like definitely like make
Yeah.
it there.
Well, that's it. I think at the time, like my actions were taking it as a hobby, but I was delusional and I was like, I'm gonna make it.
Yeah,
I'm the number one thing. No, but
you are very funny.
oh, thank you.
Yeah.
No, so are you.
Thank you.
No, but like I just kind of didn't have a vision. Like I was just kind of going at it.
Yeah.
And which is fine too. But the thing is, I think that's what kind of, that's what kind of like made me kind of teeter off because
Okay.
I didn't see where this was going. And I wasn't, I also had a lot of fear. Like,
Yes.
I think if I'm really honest with myself, like I'm afraid to kind of, like it's one thing to be on stage and to be in that intimate environment. And then there's another thing to go online and to really ask for what you want and be
Yes,
like,
and promote yourself.
Promote
and have,
yourself.
like that confidence. Like,
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I know, from experience, I definitely battle like, oh, am I a hack? Like, are people like judging me? Like, do I have like, and I have to like just like quiet those voices and listen to my confident side of me, or Fernando would say my narcissist side of me, and just be like, he's nodding his head, and be like, no, you got this, like like you're funny, like people like you.
It's a mantra,
but it's hard. It's a hard balance.
It really is hard.
It's so hard.
It's the worst. Like to promote yourself, it's torturous. So
a little bit. You
yeah.
do get used to it.
That's
to
it.
a
It's
certain
like you
extent.
build a momentum and then
practice,
you
yeah.
kind of are able to disassociate like
Yeah.
promoting me versus being like, I just need to make butts and seats here. I need
Yeah.
to make money because
Yeah.
I don't have a backup plan now.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely. So Rodney reached out to you. Let's backtrack a little to help you with these virtual events. So like for those of you that don't know, like the virtual shows were called the Unknown Comedy Club.
yes.
Which I think they still do like some corporate stuff
They
and
just
like it's
built
still
a VR room.
yeah,
Yeah.
they just
Yeah.
built in like what's the app called?
It's on Horizon. So if you have a VR set, if
Yeah.
you go into Horizon, now like Unknown Comedy Club has its own like comedy club. It like actually feels like a
It has
comedy.
two
yeah.
rooms, right?
yeah.
It has one comedy room, but there's multiple rooms inside the club.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole VR world is terrifying to me just because I'm just not really a technology person. And like, have you performed like in virtual reality?
I have. It's really trippy.
It's really
yeah. trippy, and it's so cool. So just to backtrack a little bit, when I started doing these Zoom shows, the club, it's called Unknown Comedy Club. I started hosting a weekly show.
Yeah,
and
the beta show, which I was on a few times. I loved it.
Yeah,
it was so fun.
It's a lot of fun, and what I like, it was so, and a lot of people like completely hated Zoom shows, and I understand that because it is a different skill. Like,
it's different. You get something very different out of it than you do live.
100%.
Like, so I mean, there was definitely like, when I went into it, there's sometimes like I would be booked for a virtual show and be like, oh, like,
yeah.
But then you get you just have to put a different mindset into it. Like, you're just there to just say material, really, because you're not going to get that like feedback, really.
Exactly.
I mean, one thing I keep interrupting you, but
no.
Like, one thing I liked about Rodney's like concept, or like the Unknown Comedy Club concept, is that like everyone, they like kind of enforce like microphones on, video on, just so like we see and hear. I mean, some people didn't listen or whatever, but that's I really like that. Or like other Zoom shows, it was just like performing to nothing. It was
oh my God, it's torturous. Yeah, and like I often joke sometimes when the real life audiences are dead, I let them know, like, I did Zoom shows where people would turn their cameras off and turn their mics off.
Was worse. And you guys,
and they have more energy than you. That's what I went. That's what I say.
I love that. I love that.
Like, that's my opener. Like, pick it up, guys.
Pick it up. Yes, absolutely. There
are
those crowds who are just like, are you literally scared of me? Like, why are you not reacting to anything that anyone's saying?
No, but it's also, like in the real life, they just don't know how to socialize anymore. Like, they've been in the basement for too long.
It's true. It's very, very true.
It's like drugs. Like, some people can come out of it, some people get addicted, and some people it changes them for life. Like, there's no point of return.
Yeah. I think like the lockdown, the pandemic has changed a lot of people for life.
Oh yeah.
I mean, everyone for life in a different way.
Yeah, exactly. So it was doing those Zoom shows, and I was doing it weekly, and it was so tough at first, and I was like, kill myself. But like at the same time, I had nothing else, going on. There was a lockdown. So,
absolutely.
So I stuck it through, and it kind of reinvigorated my love back for comedy, which was really positive. And I started seeing my growth. And I was like, oh wow. Like,
I think especially with the beta show, where it was just like you and Linda, who was like co-producing, like really enforced, like, it's a place to just like try things, just suss things out. You didn't like, it was just like anything kind of goes, like, don't really like, it wasn't like you had to like, it wasn't like high pressure. And I think that was like the comfy space about the beta show, is because like, I don't know, sometimes with some shows and virtual shows, especially like during the pandemic, you're like, okay, this is the only time I have, like, I can do comedy in a while, where it's just like, no, beta show, like, you can just like try things out, like try things have you written in the last,
if you want to share slides, like you could do be experimental. That's what it was, like beta testing, not like beta males. I had to a lot of people had that impression. So
I had to like look that up before the first beta show. I was like, what exactly is Mariam talking about when she says beta?
No. That was the whole concept of that. And then we ended up like stopping, because like obviously live shows are so much better. But I mean, they have their own niche. But what I loved about it is that you get to book comedians from all different parts of the country.
That's what I loved.
We had comedians in England. You know what started getting really crazy? We started getting like comedians in the Middle East that don't have a stand-up scene, and they're just stand-up fans.
For real?
We had someone from like Cyprus. We had someone from like, it was nuts. And I was like, yeah, sure, you can come and do the show.
Yeah.
And that guy like killed it. And he was just like,
so funny. That's
I'm this lone ranger. I love stand-up, but there's no scene here. So that's a thing. Like, for every negative, there are other positive stuff that come out of it.
Absolutely. It's definitely like what I liked about doing virtual shows is meeting these other comedians from, especially like, I think I met a lot more Toronto comedians because I mean, from the beta show, like and Rodney had a lot of connections with people from Toronto. So like I got to meet these comedians that like I normally like I would have to go to Toronto to meet. And that was really, really cool. I loved that. And
yeah, because the unknown is not just with Rodney. I also work with Daniel Woodrow, who's a very established comedian in Toronto.
I love Daniel. He's
awesome.
Amazing.
Yeah. So now I work with those two like exclusively. So yeah, like Daniel is a very established comedian. He knows a lot of top comedians in Toronto.
Yeah, he's been on CTV Roast Battle, I believe.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
He was in Montreal, I guess this time last year.
He's also here now.
He's here now.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But I think he's like gonna be leaving soon. So, but he was at the Nest. He was.
He was at the Nest. Okay, cool. Yeah, like it was this time last year that I did a show with him, like at Theater St. Catherine, and I only met him virtually. It was like it's been such a weird experience since the pandemic, where just like I've met you so many times, but now I'm seeing you in person.
I know.
It's very interesting. It's really cool.
Like, are you nervous to meet me?
I was nervous to meet Daniel. He's like he's such a rock star.
I know, but you try to reverse it. Like you're nervous to meet me.
I'm the special one.
I know. We do have to lie to ourselves.
So you've been unemployed for 2 months. What is the plan? What do you want to do?
Oh, come on.
I know.
Well, right now, I'm like, I need to make money. Like we can't. This is another thing. I don't want to be like a starving artist. Like I do not want to be that person. Especially I'm older now. Like we can't. Our body literally can't handle it.
Yeah.
So right now I am actually consulting and freelancing for like startup companies and help them with like their whole sales process.
Amazing. Yeah.
So I already have like 2 clients, which is great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But of course, you have like that imposter syndrome. You're like, just call and say this. You know, only $150 an hour. You know, try to play it like a therapist, but
I
like
call that faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that for years.
I know.
Years. Like I have been underqualified for most of my jobs.
Yeah, of course.
And I'm just like, I know how to do that. I'm just like Google how to do things, or just like, how much should I charge for this?
Yeah, I think they have this term now that everyone's saying called quiet quitting. Where
I've heard that.
Yeah, so it's a term where it's basically all these employers that are noticing their employees do the minimum amount of work while still getting paid, which is what I call a dream job. Like, what's the problem here? You know, because there's also been like quiet paying salaries, right? Where employers just pay the minimum and maximize the amount their like employees can meet. I'm like, it's time for this revolution.
I think it's time. I think managers sometimes do such a terrible job at like creating a job description and then fitting that job description this job description with this person's salary. It's just like they're like they end up like at the end, I don't know, this person who's like sometimes desperate for a job will like go into a job and like, okay, I can do this. And then they throw on task and then like they don't get compensated extra. So like,
or you're doing like 2-3 hours extra work and they're like, well, we paid you salary. It's like, and it'll be trash amount. And it's like, the taxes is crazy.
Yeah. One of the
turning into an anarchist here.
Revelations I had recently. I took on a contract for about 6 weeks, and I proposed like the amount I wanted an hour, and then I kind of knew that they had it in their budget, but I like kind of was like, oh, they might like be like, okay, we can only afford this or something. I had like a revelation. I was like, okay, if they can only offer me this amount, like a lower amount, I'm only going to work this amount an hour.
Exactly.
Like, it's kind of like quiet quitting in a way-ish. Not really.
I don't know why they call it quiet quitting. It's like
it's just
life.
Working for the amount that you are like getting paid for. So like,
exactly.
Like say like if I wanted, like $35 an hour, like, and they only paid me $25, it's like, okay, well, I'm working $25 an hour worth of work.
That's it.
And I think a lot of people don't really realize that they can do that for sure. Or say no to things, or put on boundaries, which I know some bosses will
take advantage.
Fight and take advantage.
Of course.
But those are bad bosses.
We know those trash human beings.
Yes, exactly.
And that's what I love. Like, that's what I love about the pandemic. It's brought that, and it's like, it's not acceptable anymore to kind of like treat me however you want.
Yeah.
And also, like with this whole remote work, it's like I realize I am now in a place where I have the skills to do things on my own, and why not do
absolutely.
it? And I also really want to work with dope people like you and create something. Like I don't,
absolutely.
like I have no intention. I don't have it in me to like want to be alone. But like that's not the point. But I want to work with people and just create. So it's like
absolutely. I don't want to like do. I can't, like we were saying before we recorded. Like I love kind of delegating to other people because they. I mean, I know my skill set. I know what I'm good at. And like, I want to be able to incorporate other people and like have that mindset. Like, okay, like I want to like build together. I want to build something
100%.
together and not just be like this person alone on whatever. At the end of the day, like I want to help everyone and bring everyone up. And
a part of me is also like, if I'm alone and I make $1 million, I'll be happy too. But like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, I would be so upset. But I'll buy friends. I'll delegate and buy friends. No, but I mean. So yeah, to go back to what you're saying. So like I'm doing that like for money, but like also it's freed up a lot of time where I just want to hit up as many mics as possible. I want to get better. I'm co-producing a show now. So it's called Super Mean Girls. It is a riff.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It is a riff from Mean Girls, but so it's like a monthly thing that we wanted to start. It's me and the voices in my head. We wanted to start doing. But
it's super cool. I love that. I love.
Yeah, we had.
I love all femme lineup or
all
mostly
femme LGBTQ. Yeah, and people love it. Like you know, it's just like it's also just like. I don't think, this whole debate, I know, like now I'm just going into something because you triggered me with all femme. Like most comedy shows, you'll have 1 or 2 female comics, and the argument is always like, well, there's just no girls that want to be comedians. Like there's such a low amount. But I think that
in the Montreal scene now, there's a lot.
There's a lot more girls. But
when I started, there was very few femme comedians. And now there's a lot more.
There's definitely a lot more. There's just a lot more comedians. Period.
Yes,
but
absolutely.
I will say that I do think that like just subconsciously, and I don't think people do it on purpose. Like even bookers, it's like you're just so used to having like 6 guys and then 2 girls. And I just think that like people don't realize like that's what you're doing. And it could be very well. Like there just aren't enough girls. But my opinion is just that like, no, I think we're just like conditioned, all of us, to think like that's just normal. And we just continue to do that. But yeah, when you kind of change it up the vibe, you do change the vibe of the room. You're changing the whole setting, and it's like it's still funny. And so
absolutely
that was just a little tangent.
So you're starting this monthly. You you're self-employed. You're making money that way.
I'm gonna crash
and then you're gonna
I'm scared, Abby.
It's terrifying. It's like, I mean, like I said earlier, 18 months ago, I, started this path, and I can't express to you, I was
tell me about
unwell.
Your path.
I've been unwell for like a year, trying to get like things rolling, like things in place, just like, but I just had to believe in myself and take this risk that it would work out. And if it didn't work out, I would figure it out.
And and like, did you try to do everything at once, or did you spread it out?
Well, I definitely spread it out.
Yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah. So it would be impossible for me to do everything. First of all, after I left my job, I just kind of took it. I left my job when it was like basically in lockdown. So like I couldn't even do shows. I could do virtual shows. So I couldn't even do. So I took like that opportunity. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna chill, just recover. I needed to like, work on my mental health a little bit, just like take care of myself. And then I slowly got into just like writing more, and then like diving into projects. And then shows started opening up, and then I started like my monthly again, and I started a bi-weekly show, and it's just like it progressed from there. And then I built like, I started producing with Michelle again because things opened up again, like the Lawn Laughs. And then I started working on this project. So it was very like a slow, like just building on things.
But it's like, it's not, you say it's slow, but then it's like a year's already passed.
A year's already passed, and then
18 months, that's what you said, right?
Yeah. And like 18 months already passed, and I have worked really, really hard, but I knew I couldn't, like things aren't going to happen overnight
Right.
for any of it. Like
Exactly.
And so it's everything. It's not about the end goal. It's like about like the little things that you do, like to build on to your ultimate goal that you're working towards.
And are you like me where you're like deep down and you're not proud of this, but deep down your fantasy is still to just like marry rich and have someone pay for everything? Like just
that's not my fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
Like
Like we're not proud of it. It's just there, you know?
I just think, I mean, I would want to be in love. Like, I'm not going to marry for love. But
you can love money.
For money. I'm not going to marry for money. I'm not going to marry for love.
Yeah.
I mean, money would make things so much easier.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sit here and be like, I'm just doing what I love and it doesn't matter if I'm poor. Like, I worry about money every single day.
Yeah.
Every single day. And it's so
damn
stressful.
money.
It adds so much stress, and it would just be such a relief.
Right.
Just to just do what I love and just have an abundance of money. It would be so much easier, but that's just not reality.
No.
For sure. And I can't wait for
But OnlyFans is. No, I'm kidding.
right. I would literally.
I thought about it. I was like, dude, I could get away with feet. I could get away with
I would literally do it. I don't think I would show my pussy, but
no.
I would definitely show my tits. I would show my feet.
Okay.
So I do have a Patreon. So if someone hits sign up for
Some
that.
suggestions.
And convince me into something. I don't know.
I know. Like you just hear the amount of money these people are making from OnlyFans, and you're like, the pandemic has been great in a lot of ways, man.
Oh my God. Did the OnlyFans exist before the pandemic? Yeah.
Okay, but it didn't have its
you
boom.
know the
Yeah,
answer.
exactly. Yes.
Well, there was like that little controversy a little bit where OnlyFans there was some credit card companies wanted to drop OnlyFans as accepting payments from them, right?
Yeah. I heard about this.
Because there was I forget the exact reason, but I remember because of that, a bunch of other companies also opened up too.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of different types of OnlyFans now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
interesting.
They accept Bitcoin. There was that.
I work for a company that kind of is like OnlyFans.
Oh, self promotion is coming.
Okay. Interesting.
No, but I mean, it's just that's another thing. That's wild. But no, when I had actually, knock on wood, I'm finally in a place where I'm doing better. And also when I got laid off, the company was good. I can't be completely shitting on them, but they ended up giving me a 2-month severance pay, so that's helped. And then I also was able to get 2 clients. I'm getting unemployment.
Okay.
Oh wait a minute, I shouldn't be saying this. I didn't get paid yet. I did not get paid from my clients yet. So I can
wait,
still
give me a second. I'm just
It's
gonna
fine.
edit this out.
Yeah.
Oopsies. No, but I didn't get paid yet.
Yeah.
Which is true. But it's it's not doom and gloom. And at the end of the day, I think it's that confidence thing where it's now I feel it's not even faking it. It's no, I am, older now. I have a lot of experience. I can do this. And honestly, you know what else is inspiring? Seeing a bunch of hacks really believing in themselves, but not faking it. They actually believe in themselves.
They do.
And you're like, don't.
Sweet baby angels.
They're not sweet baby angels. They're psychopaths that will destroy the planet Earth, because there's too much delusion happening.
I know. There's a lot of delusion.
There's a lot
in this world. But I mean, I like how it makes them happy, I guess. But it's just, it's not
You're
great.
a way better person than I am. I wish them death,
I want them gone.
I want them gone. No, but there's a lot of delusion happening around us, and it's they're going for it and they're actually winning, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
So that is also.
So imagine what you could do. Someone that's not a hack and has
halfway
experience.
Yeah, exactly. There's things
how far you can go.
Exactly.
You got to believe in yourself.
You do. You got to believe in what you actually are capable of and just do it.
Yeah.
And like you said, delegate. If you don't know, it's I just don't know, and I also don't care. So sometimes you have to care. I think it's another
there's
pressure.
Nothing wrong with delegating things and being honest with me. I'm not gonna be good at this, or I don't know how to do this. Please help me. You should reach out to other people and network and be I want to do this. I have this idea. What do you think? And sometimes like I feel like in the artist scene, like we have this like scarcity mindset that
I
like,
know.
oh, like I have to keep this to myself, and but no, like get everyone involved. Like I don't know.
Yeah, I agree because
Yeah.
it makes the scene better.
I mean,
like,
you saw this with like Rodney. It was
Yeah.
like he got like other people involved,
Exactly.
and it just like it blew up. So
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
really really cool. Yeah,
and it is cool because like now if I go to other cities, like now I just know people there.
Yeah.
And I'm like I went to San Francisco recently too. And like
cool.
there's people that did the Zoom show that were from San Fran, and they like connected me with folks to do stand up there. So
oh,
like,
that's amazing.
yeah, so it has a lot of ways of paying
Yeah.
back. And I definitely think that like, you know, in a community of artists, like I feel like the more we help each other, the more we're like encouraging each other to
Yeah.
do this, and the better the scene gets.
It will get so much better.
You know, like
Yeah.
if you're trying to hide everything for yourself or just
Yeah.
like an exclusive few, it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but like it like you can't capitalize it as much long term
Yeah.
because
yeah.
it's only going to be a selected few that are doing really good, but they're going to eventually leave, and the
Yeah.
rest of the scene is going
Yeah.
to be
Absolutely.
bad because you
Yeah.
haven't provided a space to nurture the talent.
Oh,
So,
absolutely, absolutely. I totally agree.
read
I
a
want
business
I
book.
want the Montreal comedy scene to just like blow up. I would love that. I
Yeah.
would just love. I mean, not that this podcast will. I hope this podcast. Like I
Yeah.
just. I would. That's. I want to have like. I want to highlight all these amazing talent and artists on this podcast,
Yeah.
and like hopefully like other people will see it.
I want to move.
I want to leave.
I would love to go to like, I need to get out of here. No, but like I think that like the future is like with the VR shows, it's like
Yeah.
all the scenes are just gonna combine into each other
Yeah.
eventually. And
Yeah.
I think like, yeah, nurturing your local scene too is important. But
Yeah.
like
do you think the VR shows are here to stay? I think
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Are they just going to get bigger?
I think the metaverse is the future. Like I don't know if
Okay.
you've ever been in a VR setting.
I've never.
Oh my
never.
god.
It freaks me out. Like I said, like
It is-
I don't know even how I'll react in it. Like
Listen, it's like watching a Netflix show and not being able to stop, except you're like not just watching the show, you're in the show. You know what I mean?
terrifying. Is it not terrifying to
Listen, the
other
world's
people?
already going so down.
I
I'm
know.
ready. I'm ready for someone to hit a button and for it to all implode. Like I'll take that over a slow burn. But in the meantime, yeah, I'll disconnect and go into the
Okay, you have
I'm-
those
I'm-
goggle thingies.
Yeah, so
Okay.
like Ronnie has a pair and like we've been kind of like
Yeah.
sharing it, but yeah, like it's definitely you have to get used to it. It's not
Yeah.
super easy to navigate. It's not
Yeah.
that it's intuitive, but not that intuitive. But yeah, it's cool. Like I did a stand-up show with a guy from San Fran, and like he was so good. And
Oh, that's so cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so
is it like playing a video game? Like you have to like control. It,
yeah, a
or-
little bit, but you have
Okay.
avatars. So
Okay.
like you get to, and it's so trippy because I've literally had conversations with Rodney in the space.
Yeah.
And you literally feel like this. Like Zoom does not feel real life. That feels very real life. Like even with the audience, like they have access to emojis that they can like start,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah.
doing, and it's like, it feels like you're in a real room. Like it
That's
doesn't.
So cool. That's
So-
cool but terrifying. Cool
Yeah.
but terrifying.
Yeah, but the hardest part of getting used to it is like I'm very nauseous. So like
Oh.
they has that like
Yeah.
they have motion sickness. Like so they haven't dealt with that situation. But
Okay. Okay.
just pop a gravel, get in there.
So what was one of your favorite jobs that you've ever had?
Okay, so there was that job that I mentioned.
Yeah.
That was amazing. But like actually a job I had during like my CJEP years.
Okay.
I used to work at this spa as a receptionist.
Oh, I love a spa. I'm such a spa bitch. Like
Oh my God.
that's why I
best-
need money. I need to go to spas.
Listen, I became a woman at that point. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
So funny.
I've developed
no.
into a woman.
I knew how to put makeup on. Like I learned how to like take care of myself. Okay.
Okay.
So
Self-care.
self-care. Yeah. Like I
wow.
would become friends with the estheticians
Yes.
and like the manicures and like, cause
Yes.
I was booking appointments. So if I would give them like good clients, they'd be like, we'll give you a facial. Like we would exchange services. They would give me mani-pedis. Oh, and there was a hair salon and oh my God. And I worked with friends. That was the best part.
Amazing.
And we were quite disastrous. Like
What do you mean?
Oh, okay. So on Sundays, our managers would not come in. So it would be me and two of my friends actually working at the spa.
Okay.
So I remember our shift would start at 10 a.m. And if we'd party the night before, like one of us would be like, listen, we would take turns who would come in at 10 and the other two would come in later because we'd be sleeping in. We knew what spa rooms were not like taken.
Oh,
We'd
right,
book the room and one of
right.
us would go to sleep in there.
Right.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
oh my God. At the
Yeah.
end of the night, at the end of the shift, we'd go and like just like take the products and like luxuriate, in them.
Like everyone is
This was-
doing that probably.
It was called
no
quiet
ma-
quitting. We've been doing it. We've been doing it.
We've been doing for sure. I used to take advantage at every job.
You have to.
You have
Pay
yeah.
me, yeah, it was $9 an hour I was getting
Yeah.
paid.
Okay.
Wait, what?
I was getting paid like $9 an hour.
Where was
That
this?
was like
At the
minimum
spa.
wage. Like
Yeah, that's what it was.
Wait,
I'm
how
old.
long? How long ago was this?
This was like 2004. I'm old.
Oh
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, and then the services are charging are like $150, and you see how much money the owner is making. So you're like, yeah, I'm going to like dip my hands in paraffin, which is hot wax, and I'm going to luxuriate. I'm
yeah.
going to have moisturized hands at the
yeah.
end of this. So
you're paying me less than $9 an hour. I'm going to have soft hands.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've like at any job, you sort of there's where you can take advantage a little bit, and especially if you're feeling undervalued or underpaid in any way, you're just like.
I think we were just young and like didn't care, which is true. Like I feel bad. Any restaurant owner, like I get it when they're like tough. I'm like, yeah, you're hiring 18-year-olds. Like they're not going to care.
Yeah,
That's
and maybe
their
they,
part of
they
the job.
shouldn't. To a certain extent, they should care the appropriate amount.
Yeah,
Not,
exactly.
Like, sometimes, like I've had managers or people in like positions, like when I worked at Blockbuster.
Oh yeah.
There was like some managers or like assistant managers that just took their job so
oh my God, yes.
seriously.
You're like,
I'm
who
like,
are you?
dudes,
Yeah.
we're renting DVDs to this is
I
a
know.
dying industry. We all know this. We're getting the emails from like corporate saying like we are dying, but you're taking your job so this is the time that we all should fuck off like as much as you can. Like
I know.
I stole so much candy from Blockbuster.
Oh, yeah.
And like I mean we just got free rentals anyway, which was
course.
like the best.
Yeah.
I mean in 2007 like
You were
we
like
had
Quentin
things called
Tarantino.
DVDs. We had things called DVDs where you had to like go to a store and get.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And there was no streaming. And this was the place you got it. And it was the best. It was like
It was so much fun.
It was so much fun. And I worked with a bunch of like idiots that were like
course.
funny and like
Of course.
also nerds. Nerds are really fun to work
They're
with.
the best.
They're really like
Yeah.
Fernando's a nerd. They're really fun to work with because like especially with me, they thought I was like really funny and delightful because I didn't know
You're also
I didn't
just
know-
a girl.
I didn't know
They're
anything. I didn't know anything about any like. I mean, they were renting out like video games, and they were just like, so fantasy, whatever, fantasy, and I was like,
Zelda, The Legend of Zelda.
like the Zelly one, the Zell,
Yeah.
like where do we like? I'm like, and like people be
You
like,
were
oh,
the Reddit before Reddit existed.
yeah, but like. Some of these employees were like these indexes for all of the like
They
for
knew everything.
movies and video games, and I knew nothing. I don't know how I got hired because I mean I was a teenager. They just needed whatever. But like I remember in the job interview, they were like, "Oh, what's one of your like what's one of your favorite movies?" And I think I said the stupidest answer because I couldn't think of something. It was something like, "Oh." I really thought like, My Big Fat Greek Wedding was funny. And that's like the stupidest movie in the world.
Well, not back then.
It wasn't back then.
No,
I
that's
don't
pretty
know.
funny.
Yeah.
But even back
movie
then,
still
like
hit.
when I got hired, Big Fat Greek Wedding was 10 years dated. And I was just
Oh,
like,
right.
it was like panicked. And it was like the first movie that like popped into my brain for some reason.
Yeah, but it's a good one.
I guess so. Anyways.
I remember actually now that you're bringing it back when I was at the spa, I was so nervous at the interview. Like back then too, we took interviews so seriously.
oh my God, I
I don't know.
cannot express to you like,
and you're like, it's $9 an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm taking this so unbelievably seriously.
Yeah.
And like you have to be coached. Like,
my
okay,
God.
listen, they're gonna
Yeah.
ask you what your favorite animal is. And the manager loves dogs. So
Yeah.
you better say a dog
Yeah.
because it's a man's best friend. And I remember the question came up and I was ready. I was like,
oh yes, oh yeah.
I'm like, a dog, it's a man's best friend.
Oh my God.
And she was like, you're hired.
That's all you needed to do.
Yeah.
No, people to this day get really nervous. I get being nervous for interviews. I get it. But I used to interview people, and let me tell you,
I know.
it doesn't.
We don't care.
We don't care.
I know.
We don't
Just
care.
be real.
Just be real. Anytime I've interviewed someone, we were desperate for someone.
Yeah.
So you literally
have the power.
Like you have the power.
I know.
You have complete. And I think in any interview, if I have to be interviewed again, I will have that mindset. Like,
exactly.
No, you need to sell your company to me. It's not like me selling.
That's it. Listen, I'm going to be quiet quitting a lot at your work. So you better
convince me
not
yes.
to. Yeah.
So we do have to like kind of go, like we're wrapping up a bit. We do still have a little bit of time. But I wanted to ask, why did you get into comedy for the first place?
Oh man. Well, you know what? In high school, I remember like being really part of like a lot of girl groups. Like I was like in the girl group. Like I loved it, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't a popular girl, but I just had a lot of friends, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
And I was always like the funny one. I loved entertaining. And then long story short, I remember this isn't the first time I was like discovering myself what I wanted to do in life.
Yeah.
I volunteered for this like publishing company that gave free media passes if you interview people in the city. Like you get free passes to like music concerts. And one of them was for JFL.
Oh my gosh.
And I got to interview like some comedians.
That's amazing.
But the thing is, I was so green and I would go up to every comedian and I was like, look, I don't even care about this interview. I was like, I'm just here for the free show and I think you're really talented. And my interviews were atrocious, okay? Because
what did they do with this footage? Or,
oh my God, I made sure they were destroyed. Like, no, they were
how did they track
bad.
that you were interviewing these people? Like,
well, the thing is, like, they just would give media passes, and so, but one of the PR people at JFL took me aside and was like, "What are you doing? Like, you have to take like." Why are you telling them that you're just a fan and you're here for free shows? Like, this is how wrong I was doing it.
Okay.
So long story short, I ended up recognizing one comedian and I was like, oh my God, I think you did like David Letterman and I want to interview you. Yeah. And he was like, okay, come to like one of my New Faces like shows and then we'll interview afterwards.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was an industry show only. So it was it was like a all black room, maybe 20 people in the room. Okay. And nobody was laughing at any of the comedians that were up. Like it was so taken seriously, like notes. They were writing notes. And I was like, and I'm just there like a fan. I'm just Mariam there as a fan. Like I don't have a care in the world. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? And these are like mega comedians that are huge now. Yeah. Bombing. Like one of them who's actually really big. I remember, no, I can't say names now.
Why?
I'll say the names. But the guy was sweating so profusely, nose sweat drip, okay? And I remember being like, oh my God, this is the best? Like what?
But did you know you didn't know these people at the time?
I knew one of them because I had seen him and he killed it. Like he did really well. Another one, I will say Andrew Schultz was on that lineup and he murdered. And I remember like, yeah, and it was Chris DiStefano. He was the one that I was like supposed to interview. And then my camera person didn't come. So it looked all really, again, I just was unprofessional throughout the whole time. So I remember like when Chris DiStefano and Andrew Schultz like did their set, like industry folks would literally run up to them afterwards. Yeah. So like they had that star power and you can really feel it in a room.
Yeah.
Like, you're
absolutely.
Like, whoa.
During Just for Laughs, you like when someone walks into a room, you're like, we saw Chrissy D's podcast, like a live this year. And like,
he was phenomenal
when he
back
walks
then.
In the room, you feel the energy change. Cause like,
that's how it felt. So like,
and he's so down to earth and weird and funny, but like he just has this energy and confidence about him.
Yeah, I think it's called success, but
it's called money.
It's called money. Yeah, that definitely helps. But yeah, he kind of had it back then too, and especially in that lineup. And there's another person who like really made it, but he was, oh my God, it was, I won't say his name, but sweating bullets.
Oh, wow.
And so I remember seeing this and being even more inspired. I was like, okay, if this is the best, like I'll be here next year. And no, but I remember just being like, if all I ever make it as a like comedian or a creative is writing a really shitty movie script that makes millions of dollars, I'll go for it because only this is how delusional I was. Speaking of the delusional people, I was one of them. But I remember being like, you know, like do it and go for it. But then, you know.
So you
That's
did
what
these like
inspired
you did these interviews to get like these passes.
I just wanted to go free shows. That's it. I was like, oh shit, yeah.
And then after that you started doing comedy, or was it
I think I did it once before.
Okay.
And so it was like a universal sign, like, oh my God, now I want to try and see this. And I done it once before and then never did it again. And then I did the interviews, went to New Faces.
Yeah.
It was atrocious. And I was like, I'm down. I'm down. And then,
I've definitely
I never made it.
I've definitely gotten very inspired by Just for Laugh shows, like the bad and good ones, because I'm like, well, I just love being around these creative people, and like, you know, like even if they're bombing, you know, like, okay, you are talented, you did work hard to get here, so it's very inspiring for sure. For sure.
Wait, are you talking about me? Like I just checked out because I was back there. I was
being
like,
Just for Laughs in general is just like very inspiring.
Oh,
to be
100%.
Yeah.
100%. It's very, especially if you're a stand-up and you're in that environment and you're not part of the festival.
Yeah.
It drums out a lot of emotions.
Oh yeah,
good
for
and
sure.
bad. You know.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you're like, fuck, like what am I doing wrong? And you know, or
I mean, I don't think I had negative emotions
like
me. in the I mean, I don't know, maybe I always see it as like I just get inspired like hearing these fresh, like these people that I've never seen before, or so these new comedians that I've never seen, and their material and like the way they perform, and then also just like seeing the comedians that I'm a fan of and like seeing them do like their new hour. Like I don't really sit there being like, oh, I wish I was there.
No, I'm not like that, but it's just like sometimes I don't get tough on myself like I wish I was there. I get tough on myself like you should work harder.
Yeah.
You know, like believe in yourself more.
I get that.
It's like that's my mindset because I've always had that. So I'm just like, you know, like you can just put the work in, and like that's how.
Oh, absolutely. But
I
definitely
go into negative places because I'm too critical. You know.
Okay, I definitely get that. I have like experienced that, but I try to like snap myself out of it. It's like, no.
That's a healthy approach.
I mean, it'll take me decades
to
not do that for sure. We always end the podcast with two questions.
Okay.
The first question is, what is the hardest thing you've ever been through?
Oh man. I think the hardest, I don't think there's like one moment that was the hardest thing. I just think that like in my 20s, like anytime I had a failure, I took it very seriously. And I was so hard on myself and I allowed myself to drown. So I remember doing really bad in university, had bad grades. It was like the end of the world for me because you know, I come from like immigrant parents where like grades meant your whole self-esteem. So it was like literally that. I remember any relationships that would break up, I would be a disaster. Even if it was like a friendship, like I took it so hard and like literally I would go into like depression.
Oh, absolutely.
So, and I feel like now, like I still experience those things, but I'm able to deal with it better. And it's like, you'll get yourself back up. When you're
older, I find that you deal with failure, at least from my experience, I deal with failure a lot differently. Like I think I definitely can relate to like being in university and being like, it's the end of the world that I'm not acing every class, because like my whole identity was like being a student.
Exactly.
Right. But like not everyone is designed for university. Not everyone's designed for, and I don't know. Yeah. And I mean, as a comedian, we fail all the time on stage. So it's just like the hard dose of reality every single day almost. That you're just like, okay, failure actually leads to something productive. Like you build on that. You can grow from failure.
But I feel like it, like, and I would hear that my whole life, but unless you experience it, you have to like really feel it. But I remember like, because you gave me that question before and I was like, man, like maybe my life is going to sound easy, but no, it was just like, it was like anytime like a friendship didn't work out, a relationship didn't work out. Like I have always been the type, like I beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
And I was like really, really tough on myself. And like I wouldn't get out of bed for like days. Like it was pretty bad.
Absolutely. I totally get that.
And now I look back, I'm like, that's embarrassing. Like,
it's not though. I mean, you felt those feelings.
I'm doing it again.
Yeah. You felt those feelings and they were real. So like you just, it's good to experience high emotions sometimes and just like feel it, but then, learn from it for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. I've definitely beaten myself up over like things that like I wouldn't do now. Like if a relationship like failed, like I would be devastated, but then, like I don't know, like I wouldn't like
you'll survive. Like you'll be fine.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
you've already come through it better actually.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, I can't wait how much better I'm gonna be after this.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question is, what are you most passionate about?
I think like what I'm doing now, I'm passionate about like just, being more creative and passionate about working with like people that are on the same wavelength and creating like a more meaningful life, that's what I want. Like I want to have purpose and I want to, it's not just about me, but I want to work with people like where we're going to create something and like, connecting with other humans like on a deeper level. Like, when you're doing stand up and like you see like this old guy alone and he's like laughing at your jokes and you're like, who are you? Why are we connecting? Like it's magical, those moments.
Yeah. You're passionate about this, like this connection with people, this creative connection.
Exactly.
I totally get that. And I wish I discovered this sooner. I don't know if you could relate just to like I only started doing comedy when I was 28, 27, 27, 20. I try not to regret anything in my life. And like, you take a certain path for a reason. But like, I wish I like just dived into my creative side like so much earlier. Like I just suppressed it so much. And even though like I look back at my life and like, I was so creative, but I was just like, oh, like you're supposed to just make money. You're supposed to get educated. Like that's not what life is about. But now like, I'm glad I figured it out.
And you know what? And I also have that. Like I started pretty late also. But the thing is that like all those life experiences is what makes you great now.
Yeah.
And like you can't like I do find like if you're just was a creative from the beginning, maybe you wouldn't have lived all these life experiences that make you who you are now. So
absolutely.
And you're doing it now.
You're doing it. You're doing it. We're doing it. We're going to be amazing. We are amazing.
This is our universal mantra.
We are amazing.
We are amazing.
We're going to get that tattooed on our bodies right after this episode. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having
you were
me.
the best. I wish you all the luck with your,
thank you,
I believe in you so much. You're going to be amazing. And I'm so glad that last job laid you off because you can be part of this world fully and we can see such amazing things come out of you.
Thank you so much for having me. I was so happy when you asked me. I was like,
of course.
Yes. And I listened to this pod. I think you're an incredible writer. And
thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait to see like where you go from this.
I mean, I
Don't
obviously wanted you. I
Let
obviously
me open for you when you make it.
I obviously wanted you on because I mean, you're a delight to talk to. You're just amazing. I love you.
Thank you.
You're great.
Look at this.
All right. Well, thank you again.
Hey.
I want to thank, who do I want to thank? Oh my gosh. The funders, the sponsor, Pentelis Comedy Studios, Zach Kick, as always, Fernando. The listeners, please like, subscribe, follow me on Patreon. I'll send you some feet pics. Let's make some
money.
Let's make some money. All right. Thank you so much.
Yay.